So if you want to
set up?
Yeah. Can they just give me like 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Please don't say anything. Sorry.
You're going to give me, not me.
I know, right? Let's help her.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so are you supposed to be the person setting up?
Yeah. You mean like...
Been here for almost a half an hour.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Ma'am, please. I'm so sorry. Give me a second, please. Don't tell my boss.
Okay, no problem. You can do that, but we're all on a little tight schedule, so
I'm so sorry. Actually, a little bit.
we're trying to work with you, but
I apologize. I'm so sorry. Please. I'm so sorry. You have some free samples? Listen, when she gets her shuck up and stuff, please don't go there and just tell her that, it's just my first time.
it is. I mean, I'll give you an 8 for the taste, but the presentation part of it, I don't know.
Please don't tell her.
This is the banana bread.
Okay, where's the cherry? This is the cherry. You got cherry, you got strawberry, you got stuff that's in here that's real messed up. Please try a free sample so I don't get fired. I got a lot more. I should have been here a while. This is you like cheesecake. That's a cheesecake for you. Free samples. Free samples. Is it good?
The cheesecake is dead on.
She's so mean. The cheesecake is the best one?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Don't get mad at me, but I'm giving out free food on the street.
Okay.
There's free cheesecake. Looks like this one is banana pudding.
Right.
And this is banana bread. The banana pudding is good. I like the banana pudding. You got,
I think I like
this one is a strawberry.
That is
Cherry
really good.
cherry cheesecake is good. I'm lactose intolerant. I don't know. You guys sure? You guys sure it's good?
It's very good.
Yeah.
You sure it's good?
Can I have some more? It's so good.
You can have some more only if you promise not to tell my boss.
Okay.
Alright.
I promise not to tell, but
I'm the
you know.
boss.
Oh my goodness! You did an excellent job. It's delicious. This is fun.
Hello and welcome to All Things Newark. My name is Karen Dinkins and I'm your host. My guest today is Newark resident Rashida Sawyer. Rashida, welcome to All Things Newark. I'm glad you can be on the show.
Thank you, Karen. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Now let's talk about this, Rashida. For 2 decades, you have been working as a paralegal, working in what trades?
Trademarks, IP,
Trademarks.
yeah.
Right. But there was another calling you felt that you had on your life.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about that?
Sure, definitely. Well, I have been volunteering in the city of Newark since my husband and I bought our first home in 2014. We joined the Life Christian Church, which was in West Orange, and we started volunteering through a program called the Newark YMCA Birthday Club.
Okay.
And, you know, unbeknownst to me that was going to be, you know, when I started to kind of like just feel that draw to do more. I always knew that I wanted to do more in the community, but didn't know exactly how or what. So started volunteering with under someone else actually, and she kind of passed the torch to me unexpectedly. And since 2015, I've been blessed to lead a team of volunteers through my church to host birthday parties for the residents of the Newark YMCA Newark YMCA Emergency Residence Program.
Okay.
And we also do like big events every quarter. We just actually last week had Easter egg hunt.
Nice.
Yeah, it was supposed to be in Military Park. We do it in Military Park every year, and it rained. And so we were like, we don't want to like postpone it again because we postponed it already. So we did it in their gymnasium, and it still came out really great in January for MLK Day. A lot of people do service days.
Okay.
For that, we had our very first annual Bounce for Brotherly Love, where we had a basketball fellowship with some of the at-risk teens there. A part of their, there's a program there called Yes, and there's another program there called ERC, which is Evening Reporting Center. And, you know, we just wanted to just love on them. So everything that we do, we just try to do that. And that has basically led me to just feel like, you know what, this is something that you should be doing full time.
Okay. And what did it take for you to launch or pull the trigger to get to that decision? Because you had a check coming in, a steady check.
So the funny thing is, you know, people that kind of like know me, I wasn't like Princess Tiana from The Princess and the Frog, you know, growing up saying, I just love to, you know, cook, and I just, you know, I love to bake, and I'm going to open up my own restaurant one day. That was not me.
That was not your ambition.
No.
Okay.
But, you know, just in feeling that call to, you know, launch out on faith and start working full time in the community, I didn't really know what it was that I was supposed to do, but I knew that I knew how to make cheesecake. And last year, my daughter and I were going on a mission trip to Ghana with, there is a nonprofit organization called the Dot One Village. And that also has an affiliation with my church. And there were a team of us, about a dozen or so, that went to Ghana. And we needed to fundraise because it's pretty, you know, it's pretty costly, especially when you have two people going. So I started baking cheesecakes and selling them just to raise funds. And it was pretty, out of all the fundraisers that I tried to do, that was the one that kind of like sparked off, and people kept like asking, hey, you know, are you still selling cheesecakes? And I was like, no, I'm working a full-time job. The last thing I want to do is come home and bake every day, which is what I was doing when I was fundraising. But after, you know, I kind of like had these hands idle, I was like, okay, I need to do something, you know, and, you know, of course, make up for, you know, ends or whatever. So I started to bake again. People were still asking, so I started to bake again. And also started driving for DoorDash.
Okay.
Because it's like, hey, you gotta, you know, do something. Someone told me about it, and they were like, yeah, you know, you can do. And I was like, I really don't want to, you know, drive all day. I don't want to put the wear tear in my car. But I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna, you know, put samples out there as I, you know, do my DoorDash. And I was just talking to some people in my church community that know me. And I was like, you know what? I feel like God is really calling me to do more in the community. I don't know exactly how or what. There were talks about me starting a nonprofit about 18 months ago. I didn't really know what that looked like. I had no clue. A lot of people were telling me, you should do this. And I'm like, do it how? Right. You know, who do I talk to? How does, you know, I didn't know the you know, the logistics behind it or anything. So I had this whole plan, but I didn't really know how to execute it or, you know, get it moving. So it kind of took the back burner.
Okay.
But, you know, as I started doing this, I started to tell people, well, 10% of our proceeds will go towards community outreach until I can figure out what it is that God wants me to do, you know, full time. And I was telling, you know, one of my church leaders, yeah, you know what, I'm just going to do it like this. And she was like, oh, there are a lot of nonprofits that operate that way. You know, it's called social entrepreneurship. And so they basically have their for-profit side that, you know, feeds the nonprofit side. So I was like, okay. And, you know, she's probably busier than I am. But, you know, we said we would talk about it, but it kind of like hit the back burner for a few days. And then I'm talking to someone else, you know, later on that week. And someone from across the room was like, yeah, you know, you can totally do this. And she's like, you know, telling me all these things. And then a light bulb just kind of went off. And I was like, I got it. You know, I know what God wants me to do. I'm going to take this and I'm going to have shops, and we are going to take that whole model that I had for the vision 18 months ago to be able to help the people in the in some of the places that we've already been serving as volunteers, whether it's homeless families, head of households who are looking to get work, or at-risk youth, like I told you about.
Right.
We also know that some people are, you know, previously incarcerated and they have trouble trying to get work.
So now these are just any kind of a nonprofit or just people that need help and you are offering assistance?
Well,
or do you have specific places that
so
you are donating
so
to?
until we have the shop, so we're still doing the 10%. That's going towards community projects. So like we had the Easter egg hunt, we did like books, we did children's books and things like that. But the long-term vision of the business is to have actual shops where we can employ these individuals that we've been serving in the community in this way. And there are also, you know, other organizations that have, there's one organization that one of the church members has called the Valentine Foundation, and I've been talking with them about, you know, like what it's like for people that are in sober homes. They have about 5 sober homes across New Jersey, and you know, what is it like for them to try to get work? And sometimes it's really hard for them to get work because they may have, you know, had a slip up, you know, during, you know, that time that they were under the influence or whatever, whereas they've gotten themselves a, you know, something on their record, and then people kind of like, you know, look away from that. But to me, it's like you can't count people out because they have a, you know, not so clean background.
Right. People need a second chance.
Absolutely.
And sometimes they need a third or fourth chance.
Absolutely.
But if they have the desire
Yes.
to want to succeed, and then you're there to provide a helping hand.
Yes.
Okay. So you did not have a business model. You were just stepping out there in blind faith and just like, I know I'm supposed to do something. I'm open, Lord. Show me the vision.
Yeah, you're making it sound a lot more easier than it was the day that I took that step. It was not that easy. It was really, really difficult, and I had never done anything like this before. It's one thing to know that you have a greater purpose, but when you don't know exactly what that is, and it's really like literally like, you know, like Peter stepping out on the water, right? It's like, God, are you gonna let me sink? You know, and that's what it felt like, honestly speaking. But it wasn't long. It wasn't long before, you know, God just started to, you know, just show me, you know, exactly why he was telling me that it was time. It was time for me to close that chapter in my life so that he could open up the book that he had written for me.
Right. Now, there are a number of things that started happening and lining up for you to show that you are living your purpose.
Yes.
Would you care to share some of those?
Sure. Really, I always say to people, things kind of went from like 0 to 60 really fast. I want to say, you know, probably within a week or two of the business forming, doors just started to open out of nowhere. Right now, I am partnering with a restaurant in Bloomfield called Bennett's Breads and Barbecue, where I utilized their commercial kitchen, and they didn't have a dessert menu. They were focusing on the food. They had a dessert menu previously, and they were focusing on food. So we've partnered together so that I was able to utilize, you know, their kitchen to provide single servings to their customers, and also take on other things. I did a wedding expo out of the blue. Yeah, that was, I don't even know, like my days are meshed. So I did a wedding expo with a very good friend of mine who is also, I call her my co-baker, and another supporter, Diana Ruette Baez and Tess Jacob Lewis, Teresa Jacob Lewis. They kind of just like got behind the vision and just helped out. You know, she's also baking products so that when we have big events, we can have cake pops and different things like that people so love. And, you know, Tess has just been, you know, really supportive behind the scenes with just like pulling information on, you know, business, you know, information that I may not know. And my goddaughter, Nicole Robinson, she's been like, okay, I'm working full time, but I'll help you in any way that I can. And just like, nice. Here's a tutorial on, you know, how to do this. My son is like, okay, here's, you know, Instagram. I had no idea how to do any of those things. So other than that, you know, we had the restaurant connection. I'm shopping one day to bake at the restaurant.
Okay.
And I'm in ShopRite, and I'm actually like kind of questioning myself. Like, why are you over here at ShopRite when the restaurant is in Bloomfield? You should go to Stop and Shop. But it was like I was already there, so I was like, fine, whatever. I'm here, get the stuff that you got to get, and hurry up because you're behind schedule. And I'm just, you know, going down the aisles, and I've got all the stuff in my cart, and there's this lady, and she's like, you know, like she's looking at my cart, and she's like, you know, somebody's making cheesecake. And I was like, as a matter of fact, I am. And then I just get diarrhea of the mouth and start telling her my whole business plan about how, you know, this long-term vision is to have shops that would employ, you know, these people that are often overlooked due to their, you know, less than perfect backgrounds. And I'm talking my head off, and it's literally like 60 seconds, but it felt like I told her like my life. And she's like, really? And she goes, take my card. She pulls her card out. Wow. She's like, I work for the mayor's office. And she's like, what you're talking about is directly in alignment with what Mayor Ross Baraka is wanting, you know, for our Newark residents, you know, that empowerment. And I was like, okay, God, you know. And she said, you know, give me a call and follow up. You know, I followed up with her maybe a week later, and you know, I emailed her a little backstory, and I said to her, hey, you know, I'm just following up with you. And she says, you know, well, can you bring, she says, call me. I call her, she says, can you bring some samples? I'm going to introduce you to some people. And I'm thinking, okay, great. I'm going to get introduced to some people that's going to help me to figure out what I'm going to do business wise, and, you know, how I can get a shop in Newark and all these things. All and that. She has all these people there, and they're like tasting everything. I don't know why, but I started baking like everything I could think of. And I'm like, I've got like 5 different things there for them to sample, and they're eating it. And she's like, she should be a part of, you know, the mayor's cook-off. Are there any spaces left? And
wow, the mayor's cook-off.
Yeah, so he's having this cook-off. It's called the first annual multicultural cook-off, where he's having all these restaurants, and there are some politicians that are actually going to be competing in all these different areas.
Now you are going to be a part of that. Just out of the blue, shopping at the wrong grocery store.
Yes. She's like, is there a spot for her? And they go, one spot. Someone literally had just pulled out that day. They said one spot. And so, okay, so how does she audition? And they were like, she's in. Like, do you taste this stuff?
Divine intervention.
Divine. Wow. Divine. So I know that, you know, I'm living my purpose, because there's no way that I could have orchestrated any of the things that have been happening to me.
Everything is just falling into place and serving as confirmation that this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Now, how does your family feel about this whole thing? What did they say when you said, oh, by the way, family, I want to quit my job and start baking full time?
Well, it wasn't that simple. It was like, when I quit my job, I didn't have the plan to bake. I didn't know what the plan was. It was literally like, and it was a very long and difficult conversation.
Why bet?
Yeah, and that was, you know, of course, with my husband, it's like the kids, you know, you got to get in where you can fit in. So, you know, for like weeks, and I had been ignoring it and kind of like, devil, you a liar, like. And it was like one day I was like happenstance listening to some audio on my computer at work, and everything on that audio was saying exactly what I had been thinking for 2 weeks. And I picked up the phone and had that hard conversation with my husband. I was like, I know this is gonna sound super crazy. Believe you me, I know it sounds crazy. I've never done anything like this in my life. I always tell people, you never, you know, quit a job unless you have something lined up, and you know, you always give people notice. And you know, I called one of my attorneys in, and he's like, you what? You want to do what? You know, and he's like, you sure you don't want some time to think about this? And I was like, you know, I've never felt anything like this in my life, you know. And so my husband literally did a 180 on the phone, and it was like God began to speak through him. And he's been super, super, super supportive. And my kids have been supportive. They were literally, they get drafted, they get voluntold to do some things. I'm trying not to look in the corner over there, because my son is here today with me. I call him, he's a photographer and a videographer, and he's like traveling with his bands. Christian Lawrence, shout out. I'm very proud of him. Nice. And he's like on the road, and I'm like, so can you do this for me, and can you do that for me, and can you go into my Google Drive and do a flyer for me? And he's like, I don't even do graphics anymore, Mom. He's like super frustrated, but they all really pull in, and I'm really, really, really blessed to have them.
Everybody is just supporting you in your new endeavor.
Yes.
I really have to go back to the faith aspect.
Yeah.
Because that is just so amazing to me, Rashida. I have to say that you had something in your heart that was so strong, And you are so obedient.
Scared, but obedient.
Talk to me about that.
I mean, I don't think that I've ever been a person that's not planned. I've always planned. I had a plan for a plan and a backup plan. For those that have volunteered with me through my church, they know that when they come to a volunteer event, especially if it's a bigger one, I'll have spreadsheets with telling everybody, you know, exactly what, you know, what I'm looking for, and, you know, how they should, you know, how much time it should take, how many people I need. I'm just a planner. So for you to tell me to step out without a plan, it's like, that's just nuts. So, you know, it wasn't easy, but I'm a strong believer that when God is telling you to do something, if you listen, then he'll give you confirmation through various ways. And he's been doing that. And I'm really, really grateful.
How long have you been a Christian?
Oh my gosh. Let me see. I was born. No. Well, I was born, seriously though, I was born in the church. My mom was, she was having me actually while she received the Holy Spirit. I'm serious. I was raised in church. Went on, did my own thing for a while, you know, but the Bible says, train up a child in the way that they should go, and when they get old, they won't depart from it. Well, I kind of did, but I came back. Okay. Right. And then, you know, I stayed in my birth church with my mom for about 30 years, and then went to a new church in Queens called Christ Tabernacle, and really got to like form my own relationship with God, away from family, away from, you know, everything. And it was just, you know, an amazing, amazing experience. And then my now pastor, Pastor Terry, he came and was a guest speaker at my church in Queens. My husband and I had already moved to New Jersey back in 2008, and we were still going to church in Queens. And, you know, I say now anyway, that I understand the path that God put me on. He allowed me to come to know him on a personal level at Christ Tab. And then when I came to the Life Christian Church, which we call TLCC, right, I really came to understand my purpose. Because, and the crazy thing is that, the mission statement is, you know, I just forgot it for 2 seconds and I know it like,
right, you're kind of on the spot. Yeah.
I'm on the spot. No, but I know it. You know, the whole thing about the mission statement, a lot of people talk about the last part of it, which is spreading God's love in ever widening circles. But the first part of the mission statement talks about inspiring people to the life that God dreams for them. So the whole thing is to inspire people to the life that God dreams for them as we spread God's love in ever widening circles. So a lot of people look at the last part and kind of like don't really look at the first part. Right. But I'm like, no, I was really inspired to live out God's purpose for me. And, you know, it's just amazing.
So now, if anyone is interested in purchasing cheesecakes and things, what would they do?
Yep. So you can either, if you just want to bite, you can go to the Bennett's Breads and Barbecue in Bloomfield, or if you'd like to order, you know, maybe like a serving for family size, you can contact me. Cheesecakes in the letter N things on Instagram, or cheesecakes@gmail.com, or hopefully the website is under development right now. Cheesecakes the letter N things.com will be up and running pretty soon. And you can also call me. I know a lot of people don't use telephones anymore, but you can. It's 862-505-1995.
Okay. Well, Rashida, thank you so much for joining us here at All Things Newark, and it's just been a pleasure hearing your story.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time on All Things Newark.